Good morning, Las Vegas. Thanks for joining us again right here on Realty Check, your local Las Vegas real estate news show, talking about what's happening in real estate news locally here, right from the source. So thanks for joining us. If you are watching the show, please take a moment, like, comment, share, tell your friends about us. And if you download our show, you'll be notified every Thursday when we post a new show.
All right, I'm Tiana, and we're co-hosting, and today we have a very special guest, Mr. Randy Gaore.
What's up?
He is part of, he has a podcast as well, and his is the Airbnb Cartel,
right.
And he is here to talk about how Airbnbs are going to work. But before we get into that, we always start the show talking about our inventory. So you're an agent in Vegas, right, Randy? So you watch the numbers as well as we do. So what do we have this week, Trish?
So this week, single family inventory, again, we've been raising every week. Every week's creeping up. These numbers are starting to look bad. I'm just going to say it. They're not looking good.
Wait, define bad. You'd think that we'd be happy that we're getting more inventory.
I mean, I'm glad we got more inventory, but come on now. So we are looking at 5,789 single family homes, Las Vegas and Henderson only. And over the last 7 days, we've had 1,337 price reductions. So just in comparison, and I think I preach the same thing. I might sound like a broken record here, but throughout the earlier parts of this year, that single family inventory number was under 2,000. So being at 5,789 from less than 2,000, we have had a substantial jump, and we are filling it. We're filling it on listings and activity. What are you guys filling?
Yeah.
More choices for my buyers, so it's a good thing in a way, but also a lot of my sellers that I've been talking to in the past have been like freaking out a little bit and thinking, you know, this might be the perfect time to actually sell the property now that we're hitting the peak of the market.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so it's the same, right? My sellers still think that we are 4 months ago and they're going to get top dollar and sold as is, and why don't we have 34 offers to comb through? And that's just not what we're seeing. Buyers are having options, and so it's changing the market, and I don't think that the general public is quite aware of how those changes are happening so quickly, because they came in that quick. Feds raised interest, and then boom, we're done.
Yeah.
Market changes. So I think it's just really keeping everybody educated and letting people know, like, all right, we're changing, so now we play the game differently, because it's always a game, set, match, right?
Yeah. Perfect opportunity time for buyers. This is a great time for buyers to negotiate great deals.
Right, and interest rates dropped for buyers.
A little bit,
yeah.
A little bit, slightly, yeah. So yeah, it's a perfect, I feel like there's a window of opportunity, and I don't know how long it's going to last, but I think the buyers that have been waiting to buy or didn't have, like, you know, cash to come in with all this stuff, I think they should jump on this and just get the ball rolling right now, because this is their opportunity window, and it might not last long.
Right. They might not have to cover an appraisal gap anymore, right?
Or get closing costs paid. Do you know how long it's been since buyers have been able to get closing costs paid? I'm sure that sellers that have no offers will consider that right now if they're motivated to sell. So this is huge opportunity for those buyers that don't have pockets full of cash. And I just wish that a lot of them would understand it. When they see the news headlines or they see things happening, they get scared. It makes them want to back off. And this is not really a time to back off. For those buyers, this is a time to jump. So
I agree. Jump in, both feet, do it.
One of my favorite quotes is marry the house, date the rate. Right?
That was our show title last week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot, nice. Well, you guys know the quote then.
Yeah, we know the quote. Yeah, we love that, because that's the fact of the matter, right?
Yeah, most definitely. So, Assembly Bill 363.
Let's talk about that.
Let's jump into it.
So for those of you guys who don't know, the Assembly Bill, the 363, is the governing now document that governs how you can run an Airbnb or a short-term rental. Airbnb is like generic for the public, but that's just a company. Any short-term rental in the Valley, and that's why we have you here, Randy.
Right. It's been a long time coming for this bill to come. I mean, there have been so many debates, lobbying from both sides, and now we finally have something in place, which is really great. Actually, they haven't started taking applications quite yet either because they're still ironing out so many details.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it 2 months ago they had sent out a survey wanting to get people's opinion because they're still trying to gather information and make the best of it, even though we do have the rules and regulations. And there's a lot of them, 41 pages of what you can and cannot do in order to use that short-term rental.
Yeah. Some of the highlights though were like, there's only 2,000 licenses that they're giving out, and there's about 10,000 current operators, and then we don't know how many people are going to want to jump into the ship now that there are regulations.
And that's substantial.
Yeah.
Like at 10,000 people operating, they're only issuing 2,000 licenses. That means there's going to be about 8,000 people that may choose to operate illegally, which isn't a good thing. They're going to be at risk of getting shut down, and I definitely don't recommend that. But but that's a huge factor. They're not. It's not going to be one in every neighborhood.
Yeah, and what I like about the regulations, it's also it has to be a person, like an actual person that's doing it. So they're trying to weed out all the institutionalized buyers that are coming here, like Sonder. There's a lot of big firms that come into cities and they basically buy out the entire neighborhood.
Right.
And that's what people are afraid of for having enough housing for the local folk out here.
Right.
Is like
We don't want
big companies coming in.
We don't want Vegas to be one big hotel.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Now, what about this is so a few months before the bill ever got passed, before it ever did anything, we did a show based on what they were saying was going to be in this bill, what they were saying that they were talking about being in the bill. And one of the things was a limit on how many units that a person can have that they're operating, and I think it was 5. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. You might know the number.
Number of units or
rooms? The number of short-term rentals they can have altogether.
I think it's 1 per person.
Is it 1 per person?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So before the bill got passed, they were saying that maybe it was I think the number was 5. So they definitely got way more conservative on that. And one of the things that I was thinking, I was like, well, it doesn't matter what limit they put on it. They'll just put each one in a different LLC. So if they're not allowing that makes it to where they can't do that.
They're really strict, and they're trying to keep the number as minimal as possible because they're only allowing 1% of the home stock to be used as that short-term rental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, coming from an Airbnb advocate in a sense, the reason why I like the regulations is at least there's something put in place. It's kind of like Uber back in the day. Like when Uber was in Vegas, everyone was so mad at them. All the taxi drivers were mad at them, and no one really knew what the hell they were doing.
Yeah.
There was dirty cars. There's cars that smelled weird, right?
Yeah.
But now that when Uber became more accepted and more of a actual company and there's more rules, now drivers know to give a phone charger, have their cars clean, things like that. Everyone's operating at more of a higher standard.
Yeah.
And I think that's what helps with when there's actual rules involved.
Yeah, any kind of business that you're operating or any kind of business that you that you're a patron of, you want them to have standards, right?
Imagine if there was no food and beverage board for restaurants, right? We would be like, what's going on? There's random cockroaches or
we went there.
Yeah,
that happened.
So, and there's another thing with that is that they say that you have to have a 24-hour on-call person.
Yes. Yes.
To answer complaints, calls, nuisances.
Right, and you have 30 minutes to respond to that. It has to be posted in the unit itself, in case of an emergency, call here. And then
And in front of the unit.
And you have to have a plaque in front of the unit stating that this is a short-term rental, and there's a complaint number that has to be associated with that.
Right.
But the number in the unit is in case of an emergency, who do I contact if something goes wrong or break? And then you have 60 minutes to rectify the situation, right?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So
I can't even get anything done in an hour.
I know.
That eliminates the short-term rental slumlords.
Exactly.
Because there's going to be those, or there already is those.
Even in a hotel, it's hard to get service that quickly. It's like I can't even get my food delivered that quick. Yeah. But I think with that rule implemented, it's going to have either someone that's really close by that's going to be able to handle the situation, or they're going to have to hire out, a service that help them situate the situation. Kind of thing,
Right.
you know?
So that
there
was going
such
to be
a
that's what I was going to say. The next question would be, I believe there's already services in place, sort of like property management for Airbnbs, right?
Yes,
That they're
yes.
so tell us a little bit about that.
There's some services out there. I partner up with one of them actually.
Okay, good.
But right now they're kind of like in the gray area, you know. But when the regulations come out, it's going to be more of like an office space where people can actually come and like check it out, and it's going to be more marketed. Because right now these kind of services there's no rules right now, so they don't really even want to market themselves.
Right. They don't
Right.
want to be in trouble.
Right, they're
Right.
hiding in the shadow.
Yeah.
All right, we'll help you out, but don't tell anybody.
Exactly.
So this can create jobs.
Right.
I see more jobs for locals.
Oh, well, look at the silver lining.
The silver lining, more jobs. That's
Yeah.
always great. So yeah, because that will be, if it's a necessity, I mean, there's going to be those people that want to just be on call themselves and they're planning on responding quickly, but there's going to be
Right.
a lot of people, especially people that don't live in the state, that own these properties that are going to need to hire out to do that.
Exactly.
Yep, that's wonderful. So what are some other highlights that you thought were interesting when you were looking at it?
Some other highlights was there is a maximum of 10 people that can be in a property. So the reason why a lot of people hate, and the reason why I actually hate a lot of Airbnbs is because the party houses, right? Where
No party
No party
houses.
houses at all. So Airbnb is actually like the platform itself. Actually, like I think 3 or 4 days ago, said there's no more party houses on the platform in general. So that's been completely squashed out from the biggest platform. And then also in Las Vegas, on a local level, they don't want the party houses because, like, of course, when people come here, it's not like a small house party like somewhere else. It's a Las Vegas party.
We've seen Hangover.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what
We
really,
might have a little bit of a reputation in this town. I don't know if you know or not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no party houses. They have regulated it down to a maximum of 10 people in the house, people per room,
Right,
up to
right.
10 people. And then you can't rent one out for a wedding or a birthday party or bachelorette party.
That part kind of sucks. So, I mean, I think like if you have a big, beautiful property that's like perfect to host a wedding at, I
Yeah.
mean, some people would prefer to have a backyard wedding than,
Yeah,
you know,
there's
Right.
some gorgeous backyard weddings.
right, and then to have it at a hotel or one of these wedding venues or the drive-through on the strip. I mean, there's definitely I feel like I wish there was an option to have that, if it was controlled or regulated, but
Yeah.
they're not.
They
no,
can get
no
event
party
permits
houses.
and stuff like that. I have friends of mine that are in the industry that actually can get permits for events, and it's not on Airbnb. It's not technically a short-term rental because they're not staying overnight.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, so you
it's
can
like
do
an
that.
event permit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's interesting. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, so it's a creative way to use your space because a lot of my friends they're in the more luxury field, so sometimes they're not rented out all through the whole month. They have more
Right.
lower occupancy rates. So yeah, they're like, you can do this, you can do that. There's a lot of ways to creatively rent out your property
All right.
legally.
Legally.
Let's
yes.
all do it legally, guys.
Yes,
Yes,
that's
Let's
the key
stay
word.
with the legal. We love legal.
for sure.
Freedom is
So,
amazing.
Going back to the bill, other highlights. What other things did you think that was different than what we've currently been seeing?
One of them was they went straight to the 1,000-foot rule because originally it was a 660 feet rule, and that's what the incorporated city of Las Vegas rules are. So you can't have a property that's within 660 feet in the Las Vegas area. But now it's 1,000 feet for the unincorporated. So if there's an Airbnb within 1,000 feet of you, you can't have another Airbnb. They're not going
So-
to give out those licenses.
How much is 1,000 feet? Is that a block?
It's like
is
two city blocks.
okay?
Yeah.
2 city blocks.
So they want them to be spread out as much as possible. The weird thing is, it's also going to be like lottery style, the way they give out the licenses.
Yeah,
So
I thought that was
what
cool
if
too.
They get picked. If say your neighbor gets picked, and you get picked, and then they're right next to each other, what happens?
I feel like that is going to be a problem and even a deterrent for some people.
Yeah.
Because the fact that we were talking a little bit before the show is
Mm-hmm.
you can't get the license before you get the home.
Right.
So if you're buying the home strictly to use as an Airbnb, you buy the home and then you apply for your license, and then you get denied for whatever reason. Could be someone close to you, could be something about the property, could be whatever.
Right.
Now, what do you have to sell the home and buy another one? Like, and that can get costly.
It's dicey, yeah. It's
Yeah.
very dicey.
Yeah, we're playing in a gray area for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of my players.
Yeah, a lot of my players.
Players.
my
All right.
clients, they turn it into like long-term rentals after that. So a furnished long-term rental, so that if say people are moving in from like California or all those bigger cities, they want to be in Vegas for like 2 to 3 months and test out the market and see what they like, what they don't like, and they want a furnished property.
Yeah.
They'll rent it out one month at a time. Or like say you're closing on a house and they need some renovations, right? Then you can have a family move into that house.
Right.
We also work with a lot of like insurance brokers. So if there's homes that get flooded or on
Oh, that's
fire,
interesting,
things
yeah.
like that, we have a property for the owners to go to that are month to month and furnished. So there's a lot of options for clients.
That can help the people selling their house too. You're selling your house and you are needing the money to purchase, and the buyer won't give you the option of doing a lease back. So you could go into
Exactly.
a
Short-term rental.
Exactly.
Yeah. And on the flip side of that, where, now I just lost my train of thought because your smile,
okay.
it's
That's all right.
dazzling.
We're all over the place this
Yeah.
morning. Yeah.
Don't distract me. When you said buy a house to get an Airbnb license, right? On the flip side of that, if you do have a license and you sell that house, the license does not convey because
It
it's
does
not
not.
attached to the property, it's the person.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. So even if you have a current short-term rental operating, then you can't sell it as a short-term rental.
Yeah, it's
Which
tricky.
is very. And I've seen that before, where there was a current short-term rental, probably not legally, on the market, but it was put in the MLS of currently used as short-term rental. Then someone else says, "Oh, it's already one. I want to buy it because it's I can move." And I'm like, "No. There's
That's
there's
not how it works.
That doesn't mean it's legal.
Right,
So that's most definitely
They might have been busted already. By
right,
Clark
and that's why
County.
they're selling it.
Yeah.
I seen one of those instances. They purchased a home, which silly. I'm like, read the CC&Rs. We've had this happen in my own community. Purchased a home to use as a short-term rental inside an HOA and never looked at the rules. And it's like you're not going to get away with that.
Exactly.
And instantly, one neighbor's like, hey, this isn't allowed here. They report it, and
you're done.
You're done.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no way around that. It's in the CC&Rs. So. Then they have to sell it. They have to turn around and sell it again, which I've seen that happen.
Or they can move to Vegas. Not a bad place to live in,
Yeah, or they could do long-term rentals. And I really think that it's important that people review those numbers.
Oh, yeah.
Make sure that if it doesn't work out as a short-term rental, you're still okay with the long-term rental option, because your profit margin is going to be quite different.
Have like a
Absolutely.
plan A, plan B, plan C, just in case, definitely. Especially with the way this market is,
Yeah, because we're not in the market anymore where you can buy a home and then turn around and sell it the next week for profit.
more.
Right.
Where we were
Oh,
before.
the good old days.
Yeah. So now you're probably looking at, if you buy a home and it doesn't work out, then when you go to sell it, you may have a loss.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And especially the furniture, things like that, that's the stuff that adds up. That could potentially be like half your down payment right there in furniture. So
Yep. And on resale, there's some buyers that would love to purchase a house fully furnished, but they're not going to pay retail value for the furniture. They're going to try to get a package deal on it.
Yeah, well, it doesn't even count in the appraisal anyway, so.
Right, and it's personal property. And then there's some people that are like, I don't want your furniture, I have my own.
Right.
So it's
Got a whole U-Haul full. What do I need yours for?
yeah, what am I going to do with that? So yeah, it's not a good option. You could definitely have some losses there. So it's good to review the entire.
yeah, the HOA laws, like a lot of most of the properties that my clients have or that I like to show off and showcase are the ones with the non-HOA. Like we hate HOA neighborhoods because
Same.
it's not only is it because the rental restrictions, it's because they're so darn close to each other,
Yeah.
So it's like when everyone's so smushed together, it's hard for people to from out of town to go and hang out and not have a noise complaint.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And in an HOA, I think people feel more justified because they have a number to call and complain on everything. So.
Yeah, as do the new laws for the short-term rentals.
Yeah.
You get a complaint line.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine that line's going to be going crazy.
Yeah. I don't want to be a part
Crazy
of
just
that.
because of those people. So this lottery that you said, like, it's going to be like a lottery system. It's going to be the same as, for instance, like in HOAs that have rental restrictions on just regular rentals. They have it to where if there's a rental restriction, they'll say like, 20% of the homes in this community can be a rental. And if you already get your license or whatever to be a rental, then that's fine. But once that tenant is gone, you're back in the lottery system and the next person's up.
Really? Oh, I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
So it's not, it's not, you don't get to forever, it's not forever. In most,
Transferable.
yeah,
Right.
in most cases.
Okay.
So is that something that you think that they're going to do here, like, or is it, not once the tenant's gone, because we're talking short-term
Yeah.
daily rentals, but if you ever like have a pause in your license or you don't renew your license or something like that?
I think in this environment, as soon as an owner like gets a license, they're gonna like hang on to it like it's gold. So I think it's almost gonna be like in New York when they were having like those taxi pendants, and like people were like hanging on to them like a life savings.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be like that, I think. And then eventually, maybe down the road, there could be some sort of like way where someone partners up with the property owner if he wants to get out, and they'll do most of the work, but they'll keep onto the license, because that right there is like gold in itself.
Especially if there's a limit on how many, and that was going to be my next question is what, well, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but what happens if the person dies? Like
Wow, that went dark
That-
quick.
I know.
Sorry. Okay. Well,
Well, these are things we still have to look out for, so that's a great question.
yeah.
that's true.
Is there vesting, like, like a joint tenant, or something?
Right.
Can you do it as husband and wife? If one person is deceased, the other person can automatically take over, or if that person with the license dies, is it automatically just back to availability? Now you can't use it anymore. So those are,
I'm not sure, yeah.
yeah, those are certainly.
Yeah.
We should
I
ask that on like because they're still taking suggestions and things like that, and like it's still not perfect, so there's going to be amendments and rules changes throughout the release of it. So that's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you saying?
Well, I was just saying in general that would kind of go along with the not being transferable with the property.
Yeah.
So once that license is over, can you will it to somebody?
Yeah, yeah, or have someone a beneficiary to it. Yeah, those are certainly interesting questions that you have. So when people are shopping, if they're out looking to purchase a home that they want to for the intent of making a short-term rental, do you have basic criteria you recommend?
Yes. Non-HOA is a must. That we
Yes.
talked about. 3 to 4 bedrooms at least, because when you're at the 2-bedroom range, you're really competing against like the hotels, and the hotels are able to cut their prices so cheap because people they depend on the gambling, the restaurants, all that stuff. They're giving out the rooms for free.
Right.
So you want to have a thing that's more a place that's more family oriented, 3 to 4 bedrooms, a bigger lot, bigger yard, so there's some space to spread out. A pool is nice,
Yeah.
but it's not required, but it'd be a lot nicer to have because people go to Vegas, they want to hang out by the pool,
Yeah.
sip margaritas, things like that.
I like where your head's at, Randy.
Yeah.
Every time I look for an Airbnb vacation rental anywhere for myself, pool's mandatory. If it's somewhere where you can swim. If you're going to Colorado in the winter, no,
Right.
no one cares.
Then get a hot tub.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Get a hot tub. But I feel like anywhere where the weather's great, you want to be outdoors, I'd want a pool to be in that vacation rental.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So did you guys read through the bill when you do have amenities like pools and fire pits and stuff, you can't utilize them after 10 p.m. or before 7 a.m.?
Yeah.
What?
Yep. So no hot tubs at midnight, people.
Yeah, right.
Just have your,
Just keep it quiet. Just kidding. I'm not giving bad advice.
Indoor.
Illegal.
Yeah, indoor.
Indoor hot tubs.
Yeah.
We need some we need some indoor pools.
I
We don't
have-
see many of those.
I have
We do in like the historic district and stuff. I have a few indoor pools that I've worked with sellers or buyers for.
I just bought a property with an indoor pool.
Did you?
And that's what sold me on it.
Yeah,
I
that's
was like,
amazing.
I'm in, and I turned it into a giant hot tub. So I installed a pool heater in it, and
Okay.
it goes all the time, 24 hours, hot tub.
So that is called a spool, right?
Spool,
yes. It's a pool and a spa all together.
Yeah. And it's cool.
They're brilliant.
Yeah. Spools are cool.
Yeah, spools are cool. They're brilliant. Even when they're outdoors. I'm like, that is so, because who are
does
we
laps,
swimming
right?
laps in pools? What are we doing?
Okay,
We're
so
not,
I swim laps in pools, people. I love
really?
to swim. Yes.
Okay.
yeah, no.
So
It's a
Tiana-
great
you're
workout.
rare.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most people just go to float, to sit, to soak,
Yeah.
to cool off and relax with a drink. And so a spool is like all in one. It's
Right.
perfect. You can use it all year. Yeah. Yeah. I
And
want a
it's
spool.
less maintenance too. Right?
Yeah.
Less chemicals, all that stuff.
Right. Are they drop-ins?
What do you mean?
Like it's like
a
one of those
prefabbed.
prefab drop-in pools, or is it like the ceramic plaster?
It's in there. It has like little tiles in it. There's a
Okay.
marlin in the middle. It's
oh my god!
it's like a
It
like
was
a
made for you.
Scarface type spool, indoor spool.
Indoor
an
spool.
indoor spool.
All right, I gotta see this place.
All
Yeah.
right, Airbnb
Yeah,
cartel, we see you.
yeah, that is amazing. I like
Well,
it.
Airbnb cartel. It doesn't sound like what it sounds like. It's Chris and Randy Tell. So that's what it stands for. But it
okay.
sounds cool.
Okay. And what do you talk about on your podcast?
So on my podcast, we talk about like how like we got into it, any sort of tips and tricks for someone that want to do it themselves, right? Like little things that we learned along the way, our experiences, and basically we have guests and stuff that come on. Like we had a CPA come on. We've had all these different aspects to look at a short-term rental because it's not just like one thing. There's a lot of things that factor into it.
Yeah.
Like the economy and like stocks going down, crypto going down. So we touch on a lot of things that affect the market. Yeah.
Right. And do you feel like that any like the changes right now that are happening in the economy and the housing market are going to directly affect short-term rentals? I feel like there's two different. It's just two different
I
things.
think so because
Really?
because gas prices are up.
Yeah.
Plane rides, tickets are expensive. Everything's getting more expensive,
Yeah.
and people are like the buyer confidence isn't quite there right now. So I think people are going to travel a little bit less.
Yeah.
So you have to have your property stand out. So if you already get to get an Airbnb, make sure there's a theme to it. Make sure it's a little bit different than the crowd because the cookie cutter properties are not cutting it anymore.
Yeah, and just like our real estate sales photos for the property, it's all about how it presents online.
Exactly.
You got to get them enticed.
Now, do you do Vegas themes such as like Elvis or?
No, not yet.
Slot machines in the corner.
Yeah,
Not
like
yet.
seriously, I think that'd be so fun.
It would be fun.
Yeah.
Probably for the next one. It sounds great.
Yeah.
The themes that we do have are like mid-century modern kind of themes.
Okay.
Or like pop art themes. We have one, the new one with the indoor spool. It's going to be wellness center themed.
Oh, I like that.
I was thinking Scarface, but okay,
Yeah.
sure, wellness.
Say hello
Yeah.
to my little friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll have like a sauna and like it'll have like a yoga retreat, like yoga in there.
Oh,
like,
sweet.
Like 1 hour of free yoga training and
Oh,
like
that'd be a cool like girls trip or
Yeah,
something.
exactly.
Bring a couple friends, not more than 10 people.
Not more
but,
than 10, exactly.
But bring a group out and just have a relaxing hiatus from life.
Yeah, I would go there. That sounds
Right?
that sounds great.
Maybe we'll do a staycation.
yeah, I got you
I know a
guys.
guy.
So, have you seen since this bill passed, and it was just July 1st, I believe
went
it
into
was.
effect, yeah.
It went into effect. Have you seen any uptick of people that are requesting to look for Airbnb properties, of people wanting to purchase Airbnb properties?
Yes, yes. So,
Already?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
there have been people that have been waiting. It's kind of like a balance. So there's a lot of people that were waiting for July 1st for them to come and buy because like they're like, I don't even know if this is going to be a real thing, if it's even going to pass. And then there's some people that have been waiting to buy on July 1st and they're like, oh man, like these rules are way too strict, and they dropped out. So I had a lot of clients that dropped out on purchasing out here, and then I had a lot of clients that they liked that the bill came out because now there's at least a basis for them to base their investment on versus just it just being like a gray area and they have no idea what's going on. So it's kind of like been a little bit of a balance.
A little bit of both.
Yeah, but people that were like more like institutionalized buyers that like have properties all across the U.S. that have like fourplexes and stuff that were like my long-term investor players that have LLCs, they've all dropped out. They're like, it's too much work for me. they need one person in there. So a lot of the companies that I was working with have dropped out. So
Yeah.
that's maybe a good thing for the local economy, right?
Absolutely. For like your regular small business owner, person that wants to just have a small business that produces some income. So
Right.
Yeah. The I did hear a lot of people say that they thought the regulation was intended to be a deterrent to reduce.
Right.
Yeah, well, them keeping it down to 1% of our stock that can be used available, and having all, like, you have to report each month where you're advertising, what your numbers are, how many times you're booking out, and it's very professional on how they want to know about what's going on there.
Right.
And so that's great because it sets a standard, right? You're going to have fire extinguishers and
Yeah.
smoke alarms, and you have a helpline and all the things that you'd want as a renter to come in and feel safe and secure, that you're going to have the, the support of somebody when you go there versus just the Wild West, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well,
Exactly.
yeah, no, I agree. I think that that it was more, the regulation was to just stop it from everybody being able to have it, because now that there's regulation in place, there's also penalties in place for people that are doing it without.
Oh yeah, fines and penalties all
Yeah.
across the board for everything. Like, oh, you didn't do this, fine. You didn't do that, fine.
Great source of revenue for the city.
Yeah, well, that's another reason, right? If you're going to play devil's advocate, like they're giving out 2,000 licenses, but we've got 10,000 people. That's 8,000 people they can start collecting revenue on taxes for, because they own those houses. They can, put a judgment on it, and boom, we're getting paid. Yay,
True.
Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
A lot
definitely.
of my clients are like saying that they might not want to even apply for it because now the government knows your information or something, but I don't know. They might be paranoid.
That's a little conspiracy theory.
Right?
Wow.
Trust me, dude, you have a cell phone. They already know your
Exactly.
They
information.
know all your information. We're not hiding from
Did you
anybody.
download TikTok? The whole world knows your information.
Wow, yeah, that's certainly a whole other topic.
Yes.
Okay, sign me up for that one next week.
No,
Dang it.
I do not want to open that can of worms.
Yeah.
But, Randy, how do
Yes.
people reach you?
You can reach me at my Instagram at @howrandygaore, or on the board on the screen. Call me at 646-643-1088. My email. But yeah, I'm on IG a lot, so it's HAO randygaore.
Okay.
So my OG government name is Haran. So that's how I got Randy. So it's How Randygaore. Yep.
Nice. And you have your podcast is called
Airbnb Cartel with
Okay.
2 L's. So Airbnb, Chris and Randy, Tell, Tell. So
Okay.
yeah, follow us
Chris
for more.
and Randy tell.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here on the show.
course.
If you guys are watching the show, like, comment, download, share, tell your friends about this. And we look forward to seeing you again next week on the show. Tiana, how do people reach out to you?
Oh, if anybody needs to get a hold of me, I'm always available by phone at 702-379-9948.
All right. And I'm available, cell phone 702-308-2878. Remember, if you have your listeners' questions that you want to send in, you can send them into the show. You can comment on the Facebook page and do them directly there, or anywhere where you're listening. Just send in your questions and we'll answer them live on the show. Thanks a lot, and you guys have a wonderful day.
Bye.